All right. So we're gonna ground
We're
zero or
rolling.
all right.
Hey,
Yo.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Paranormal Vantage Point with Bud and Brooke. And Brooke, would you like to go ahead and introduce our special guest tonight?
our special guest is the awesome Shane Feek, and he is part of a paranormal team, and we met him through Paranormal Day, and he is awesome. So, Shane, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, yeah, my name is Shane Feek, and I'm a paranormal investigator, of course. We have our own husband and wife group called Ghostly Science, but I also participate with pretty much any other group that'll take me. I'm pretty much a group whore. Anybody that's got an open spot for me to get in there, let me in. So, but I try to focus on the science aspects of it, and we'll talk a lot more about that a little bit later.
Okay, sounds good. Now, when you say
So,
what was that, Brooke?
no, go ahead.
Now, when you say like you work with the science part of it, is it mostly do you like direct it towards being a skeptic or mostly a
Oh
believer?
yeah,
Or,
I like to call it the 80-20. I'm 80% skeptic and 20% believer.
I gotcha. Okay.
At
So
least you got that little bit of believer like me,
I
dude.
do, I have the believer because of the science that I've seen. So yeah.
So,
Now, what do
I'm
you
a
mean by
big,
that?
What do you mean by that?
Yeah,
All right, well, so basically, I do investigation pretty much different than every other investigator I've ever met.
right.
And so I use uh electronic equipment, lab equipment, not the little
Hmm.
ghost gadgets that everybody
Right.
sees, not the REM pods and the SP7s and all that stuff.
Yeah, I believe all that's useless.
Yeah, I don't use any of that stuff, although
Right.
occasionally I will voice record something, but for the most part, I build all my own equipment. I build my
Oh,
own,
okay.
yeah, I build all my own equipment and I've built this sensor board, I guess you would call it, and it records 26 different environmental parameters every second and it logs it with sync to video and sync to audio. So basically, if a ghost even farts in that room, I'm finding out about it. All right. I mean, literally, I'm monitoring things like, EMF, of course, temperature, barometric pressure.
That's
Let's
awesome.
see. Huh?
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm monitoring all these things. And sometimes I even technically do what we would call an automated investigation. So I literally have pre-made uh, PowerPoint presentations. And so sometimes I'll actually bring a laptop in. I'll bring the sensor board in. I'll set it up at a location. I'll let it run for an hour or so to get some baseline data. And then I'll start it on random presentations, lock up the doors and go head out for the bar and chill, come back in 4 or 5 hours or whatever and see what kind of stuff I got.
Now, when you do something like that, how do you control the environment, like noise and like
Well, you
outside?
don't have to because nobody's in the building.
Right.
I mean, literally, we will put the equipment in there, in a certain room, wherever they say this happens to be, this thing is happening in that room, whatnot.
Okay.
So
Right.
then I take the board, I set it down, I test everything, make sure it's going to work, I make sure it's logging, I make sure the video is running, all that.
Right.
We'll start it on its automated session and then bye bye, lock up the building and leave.
Okay.
They're like, you rented the building and you weren't even there. I was like, well, yeah, I was there and we wandered around, we hooked up some things. And we don't
Yeah.
always do that. That's something that I like to do because the great thing about it is it takes all of the human bias out of it. And also, if there's nobody in the building and nothing's around it and there's no sound, and you hear sounds or you see things or pick up data, you see, in the graphs of the data, you see spikes and jumps.
Yeah. How can you disprove that?
Correct. So it
Yeah.
makes it better. Now, I will also tell you after I've done so many different locations, etc., that unfortunately many of the locations that claim to be the biggest and hauntedest and bestest have jack shit, and the rest, some of the little
Right.
mom and pop cemeteries and little churches and random places have stuff
Right.
that you're like, holy hell, I don't believe I just saw that.
Have
Right.
you been to Waverly Hills?
No, because
I
they
haven't
So,
won't let
either.
me in for free.
well,
I mean, I have a low
honey,
budget here.
hey, I get it,
On the
honey.
same
It
way.
is. I am low budget. I am
Yes.
all about budget.
I mean,
I
if somebody, yeah, if somebody's going to get a place and they're all going to split it a bunch of different ways, okay, fine,
Yeah,
I'll
right,
chip
that's
in a little bit and go.
right.
But I ain't spending no $500-600 to go for,
No,
right.
you know,
no. I'm the same way. I will.
The first time I went to Waverly Hills, it was 10 of us, and it was $100 a piece.
yep,
And my dad was actually in. That's how I kind of got into the paranormal,
okay,
because I would talk to my dad about it, and I would talk to my mom about it, and I feel like I connected more with my dad on it.
sure,
My mom has had experiences with me. She had one deep experience with me when we were in the house we live in right now,
okay,
and we seen a black mass, not like of a person, but it was
sure,
like an orb, like a smoky figure in the doorway, and it just kind of was floating, and it just went, and it just
wow,
disappeared.
that's
And
cool,
she was like, and it was like right after we moved in, like it was probably like 2 weeks after we moved in. And I kept telling her, I feel like there's something here, because I had my room, which is my room now,
yep,
which is upstairs. And I kept telling her, I feel like there's something watching. And still to this day, I feel like there's something watching me upstairs. I don't
sure.
feel like it's
Yeah,
nothing
but high
bad.
EMF,
It's
bad
never
EMF can do that to you.
do what?
Bad EMF can do that to you.
You know what?
It can.
It's never bothered me. I just try to not bother it, and I'm just like, look, like I'm sleeping,
See, what you will have to
quiet
do
it
is
down.
drop
You
off
know,
that sensor board in your room for about a 2 3 days or a week and let it record. We'll find out if there's stuff in there.
I'm telling you, there is definitely
Yeah.
something up in my room.
Yep.
But did you
But
test EMF?
but when me and my mom were downstairs, we were just watching TV and just hanging out, and we were in her room,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like a little like hallway that leads to her room, the bathroom, and Beta's room, my daughter's room.
Yep.
And then my room's upstairs, which used to be an attic, which clearly is creepy as hell.
Oh
but
yeah.
you
All
know,
old houses are have creepy
but
attics.
but I sleep like a kitten up there, and I hear stuff all the time up there. But we were downstairs and we were watching TV one time, and there was like a black, like smoky figure. It
Wow.
wasn't like a person, and it was a smoky figure, and it just went, and it just hovered there for a minute, and it moved, and my mom
That's
like
cool.
looked at me, and she was like, "Did you see that?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I seen that.
Yeah.
You know
So
I'm
two
not
Well,
you saw.
full of it
two
now."
people
Like,
confirmation is,
yeah.
definitely a plus.
So it was kind of like, I'm not full of it now.
Yep.
So I mean, it was kind of
I beg to
cool
differ.
that she got to experience that. It kind of scared her a little bit,
Yeah. Sure.
but at the same time, like she was like, "Okay, I know you're not full of it now." Like she was like, "You
Yep.
definitely know that there's something here." And I have never said that I am medium or I'm
Yeah, I'm
skeptic
not
or
either. I'm
anything.
about as psychic as a rock.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had different emotions when I've walked into places. Like I went to Waverly Hills,
Mm-hmm.
and we went with a group of people, which we want to try to get a go again. So
Yeah,
I
that'd
would
be
love
awesome.
for you and Bud to
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we'd
go
go.
with
I've
that.
never been there.
Oh,
I've never been there.
honestly, and even if you don't, it it wasn't the most active place that I've ever had.
Yeah.
but there was
I just
definitely
want to
some
go to the
activity.
history, just the historical part.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is like I love going to these places, and that's what me and Bud get along on. We've clicked on is
Yep.
the historic, the
She's telling you
history.
everything else we don't.
Yeah, it's whatever, honey, whatever. Anyway, it's the history of these places
Yes.
that draw us in, and
Hmm.
that's what drew us into the Hannah House. And I mean, oh my God, Waverly Hills, like I definitely had some activity going on there.
Like
That's
what?
awesome.
um to be honest with you, really the only full-hearted activity that we had going on was when me, Judy, which you met Judy because she
Yeah,
was across from us.
yeah, I know, Judy.
I know you know Judy. I'm talking to
Yeah,
Shane.
Yeah.
well, I didn't say so.
But but we were, yeah, that was our booth, was Indiana Lost Souls Paranormal. So we went there, and we were down in the death tunnel, the chute, which they would take people down.
Oh, the
Okay.
death shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, they would take people down because there was like hundreds of people dying
Oh, of
every
course.
day.
That's where the body shoot.
Yeah, there was hundreds of people dying every day. So so we were sitting down there. It was me, her, my dad, and our friend Ken,
Okay.
that is with Indiana Lost Souls Paranormal. And we were sitting down there, and it sounded, we heard a gurney rolling upstairs, and
Wow.
we heard someone, it sounded like two people having a conversation, like, and it was like subtle whispers, but we were all the way at the end of the tunnel, and there was no one upstairs, there was no one up there,
Yep.
so we were hearing all of that. So we were down there, and we were hearing the gurney rolling and everything, and I was like, oh my God,
That's
oh
cool.
my God, oh my God, oh my God.
You can hear it
Like,
rolling.
and I was getting so excited. And
Yeah.
then so my phone, I went out the night before for a bachelorette party. I lost my phone. So I was using my dad's phone to take pictures. And I'm not big on pictures from a cell phone.
Yeah.
I'm not big on it.
Yeah. They're not, the cameras aren't that great.
It
Not
it
compared to a
really
good SLR.
it really isn't.
Yeah.
But the thing is you can tell the difference between a picture of a bug and an orb. And this thing was like big, huge,
I
like
got to see that picture someday.
round ass ball sitting there up in the middle of the death tunnel.
Wow. That's
And
cool.
I took pictures back to back because that's how I am, and that's how I told Bud I am. Is I take pictures back to back.
Yep.
So I want to make sure that if I don't capture something in the first picture and I
Yep.
capture something in the next picture, that could be something. I'm not saying it is something. I'm
Sure.
saying it
Yep.
could be something.
Sure.
They
So
could easily beat the both.
that, that okay. Oh, here he goes.
No, I'm just saying as a photographer,
Yeah. Yeah.
it could have been
There's
something out of
there's
focus.
a lot of things that can be. I'm a amateur photographer myself,
Yeah.
and I take a lot of photos.
And and I agree with that, but at the
I
same time,
take
the
see
fact
that's
that
why I give advice to ghost hunting
but
people and taking photography classes.
Bud, quit
And
talking.
learn how things
Love
focus and
you.
don't focus.
Love
I
you, but
love
quit
what I
talking.
love you. Too.
But look, no, but look, we got there. Me and my dad got there. The weather was perfect. It was
Wow.
like perfect fall
Yeah.
weather. Like it was like 70 degrees, light hoodie weather, like perfect. We started investigating. It was snowing.
Wow.
Snowing in March. It was snowing.
Well, it is in the Midwest. I've seen it snow in March.
Dude, it was snowing. And the fact that we had that shit going on and we were in the death tunnel and it was literally nothing going on. There was nobody down there. Everyone was upstairs with our group. There
See, I
was
could.
there was no dust or anything flying around. We took a few pictures. I took a few pictures back to back. Nothing. And then there was this one picture where it was a boom, big ass white ball in front of us.
That's cool. I want to see that picture someday. That's cool.
I would love to show you. My
All
dad
right.
has it. He still saves it.
Yep.
He's like, he goes, that was the best, that was the best experience I've ever had. Like,
Yeah.
my dad loves that because he actually used to deal with oh, what do they call it when you sleep paralysis.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He dealt with that as a
Ooh,
child.
yeah, it's hard because you wake up and you can't move,
Yep.
and you feel like things are pressing down on you.
So
But I've done some research on that.
yep.
Yeah, I
So
was going to say because I've
him
had
and
one.
him and my uncle, they would call it Mr. What did they call him? Mr. George.
Hmm.
Mr. George is what they would call him. And he
Yeah,
never caused any problems with them. But
yeah,
my dad was
it's
like
scary.
when he would come around, it was scary
Yeah,
because we would have no movement or anything.
sure.
And one of us would have movement and would be able to run away from it, but
Mhm.
he would get attached to one of us. And the fact that something like that can get attached to you is it's scary.
Well, actually, here's a neat. I can tell you guys a neat attachment story. So, quite sometimes, heck, 5, 6 years ago, we went to the Farrar School out in Iowa, and that was when I was working with the Phantom Science Boys. And we went out there. I had my sensor board. We're doing some stuff. And, we found a few weird things there in that big school and we just, logged them all and whatever. But the strange part came about 2 weeks later. I'm at another investigation at a private residence and I'm sitting in the basement and I'm talking with the owners of this house and we're talking about they asked me, so hey, what investigations you've done recently, and so I had mentioned the Farrar School and I talked about it for I don't know a couple minutes or so and I didn't think nothing of it. Well, then later when I went and I looked in the data for the board, there were all of a sudden spikes went all kinds of crazy. I mean, we're seeing EMF, radiation, magnetic field changes, all kinds of stuff. And so I was like, I went back and I looked at the video from the time because I always videotape everything that I do with the board. And I realized that during that exact like 2 minutes and 10 seconds that I was talking about the Farrar School was when that activity was showing up on the board.
No shit.
And it stopped immediately when I stopped talking about it. Now,
No.
this is even
That's
more crazy.
awesome.
Fast forward about another 3 or 4 weeks, almost a month. I was out with my friends at a little tiny local cemetery. And we're all sitting out on a blanket. It's just about dusk. We're talking about stuff. And one of my friends again had asked, hey, what investigations have you been on? Blah, blah, blah. And so I'm start talking about some different ones. And then again, for about a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, I was talking about the Farrar School. Well, again, when I got back home and I started looking at the data, there was crazy readings again at exactly that time for about 45 seconds during only the time that I talked about for our school. So that was number two. Now, fast forward probably another couple months, and I was at an investigation at the Henderson Castle.
There's more.
There's more. I was at the investigation at Henderson Castle.
Where's
And
that at?
again, they're talking about, hey, man, what investigations,
Yeah,
what things have you
no.
done? What have you seen?
is that the castle that you and Dan are a part of?
Yes, correct.
Oh,
Yeah, in
you need
Kalamazoo.
to talk. You need to talk
Okay.
about that
I will.
for
I'll get to
sure.
that one. We'll get to
Okay.
it. So, anyways, I'm there at the castle. I'm talking to a group of people. I'm telling them about, yeah, I went to the friar school. And for the third time, I actually saw statistically significant changes in the data only during the few seconds that I was talking about the friar school. So that's 3 times in about 4 months, 3 or 4 months,
Dude,
that
that's
every time I
crazy.
talk about that building, my sensor equipment picks it up and starts going crazy.
No shit.
And so, and when I'd stop talking about it, and the whole rest of the night, it would do its normal thing. But during that, so either A, it was an attachment, which I'm not sure I believe how it works, but whatever. B, the school itself can sense that I'm talking about it from that far away and
Right.
causes some kind of a local thing to happen. Or C, the universe is filled with a lot of coincidences, but that's really weird because there's a lot of time in a day. And for you to only get those type of readings during those minute or two that you're talking about it, I mean, we're talking 3 or 4 sentences here. And also, when I did statistical correlation of the data from those 3 sessions, from those 3 little bits, they actually had a fairly high R value, which means they actually had correlation, which means the same thing happened to the sensor board from all 3 incidences of me talking about the Farrar school. So, how's that for evidence, old Budster?
Hmm. Depends. I'd have to be there to actually give my opinion.
Boom.
Okay.
No,
Well,
there's
and
no
here's the
boom.
great thing, bud. Here's the
Hey,
great thing.
hey, Shane,
Yep.
I fucking love you for that.
Thanks.
Here's the thing. We need to take Bud
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like
on.
I've got to be there in order to give my opinion. Like, no
Right.
offense to nobody. I
It's
mean,
Well,
not that
actually, go ahead.
it's not that he doesn't necessarily believe or disbelieve. It's the fact he hasn't had any experience happen. But I
no.
also feel at the same time, I don't know if I want you to go, Bud, because I feel like you're going to be a dead zone because you're going to be like, oh, it's not going to happen.
Hmm. Well,
Sometimes, whoa. Hold on.
Whoa, whoa,
In
whoa,
my
whoa.
in my defense, when you investigate anything, sometimes you have to have that mindset, anyways. Because
Sure.
if you have the mindset it's going to be haunted, guess what's going to happen?
well, yeah, but also, bud, the same psychology also works. If you think nothing's going to happen, nothing happens. It's
Uh,
because there's
I
also
might
theories.
disagree with
Yes,
that.
you have to keep an open mind. And
I
I feel
am.
like
I am open-minded.
Well, and here's the other
you are
thing.
not open minded.
I am
Here's the
too
other thing,
open-minded.
bud.
Okay.
I have every byte of data that I've ever recorded from every location that I've ever been to. And I can pull up those files and send them to you, and
I
you
need
can
to
look at the
find
data for
so
yourself.
so I actually went to Monroe House one time. I've been there quite a few
I
times.
want
The
to go there
Monroe,
someday. I've never
the,
been there.
oh my God,
I don't get to Indiana much. Most of my stuff's Michigan area. So,
it's a good haunt. Oh,
yeah.
you live in Michigan,
I
don't
live
you?
in Michigan. Yeah. I'm just north of the
Oh,
Indiana border.
honey,
About 10 minutes and I can be
you
in the
need to
swamp,
just
as
get
we
a
call it.
hotel and you need to come get all the spooky places with us.
Yeah, I'll
But
do it.
anyway, so the Monroe House is definitely active. So
Yeah.
the first time I went there they had this. It was called the Oculus Room, which was a big room, and it was a big mirror. Is
Oh,
pretty
yeah. I
much
know
what
what
it
those are.
was.
Yep. Scry mirror.
It was an Oculus room. And we were in there, me, Judy, and our friend, oh, who was it that was in there with us? Some sorry ass person that was in there with us.
I'm sorry, ass
From,
person.
not trying to be any kind of way, but God bless their soul because I know that they jumped and they were scared. And it was me, Judy, and him. And Judy never gets scared. She's
Yeah, I
my
don't get
ride.
scared.
She's my ride or die. She's never scared. Oh, I get scared
See,
all
I
the
don't.
time.
I'm just like, yeah. If there's a
Oh,
if somebody
I
says,
get
"Hey, there's a
scared.
demon coming up through the floor in the basement," I'm going straight down them stairs right now.
Oh no, I get scared all the time. Like everybody's like, "Oh, you go down first, Brooke." I'm like, "Y'all can fuck off. Like you can go first. Like I'm
Well,
not
so I'll
going
just
first."
remember that I will leave a wide path when I'm going down there with you, because
No, you're
then
going
when you
first.
run, you won't run me over when you leave.
No, you're going first, bro. I'm not
Oh,
going
I'll go
first.
first. I don't
You,
care.
I'm not
I'm crazy.
going.
I don't care.
I'm
It doesn't
not
scare me a
going.
bit.
I'm not going. I love you so much. Look, we got Gary Oldman in the
Yeah.
house, guys.
There you go. Well, so I can tell you guys about other experiences I've had.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
so I was on the LST 393. It's a great big ship that's in Muskegon, Michigan. You can book a ghost hunt there if you want, whatnot. We have friends that are
Where's it?
partial owner, huh?
Where's it at? Or where
Muskegon
exactly?
Harbor. It's in the water. It's a
Okay.
permanent. It's a museum now. It actually
Oh, okay, okay.
it actually saw time in on Normandy on D-Day.
Holy shit,
And
that's
so
awesome.
and they've brought it into the harbor. They've anchored it. It floats in the water still, and they've turned it into a museum, and it's a really nice
Oh,
place.
I'd like to go see it just for the historical.
That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
it's got a lot of history. There's all kinds of military stuff there, all
That's why
kinds of
I would love to go.
yeah. So anyways, we're
I'll
on
book a
this
weekend.
ship for 4 days because we know people, and we're like, yeah, that's so like, yeah, you have the 4 day weekend, you can stay there. So we did that. Well, here's one experience that we had. The wife and me and one of our other
Wait,
investors.
there's more, right?
Do
But
what?
wait, there's more,
But
right?
wait, there's more. There's more. This is gonna be a good story. All right. So the wife and me
Why
and
you got
our
him on here?
yeah, our new our one of our new guys, he a teenager kid, came on the investigation. His name is Noah, and he's a photographer. He does all kinds of stuff. And so he was up taking pictures. We're up in the control room for the ship, up in the wheelhouse. Literally, the big wheel is there. All the electronic instrumentation is what it was in the night, World War II. It's pretty
Right.
lame. But anyways, we're up there and we're talking and we're doing stuff. And finally, Noah goes, "Oh, hey, my camera batteries are almost dead. I'm gonna go out to my car and go get some batteries." We're like, "Okay, Noah, no problem."
Hide.
Yeah. And so and of course, remember on a ship, everywhere you walk makes sound because it's all metal. It's like boom, boom, boom. Every step you take is like walking on a metal catwalk, because that's basically what is all over the ship is these metal catwalks.
Right.
So we're up in the wheelhouse. So he has to go through a hole like a hatch, go down the steps, and then walk across the officer's quarters deck to go down to the ramp to get back to the car. So you can hear him walking away the whole time he's walking. It gets quieter and quieter and quieter, right? So then about 20 minutes later, I'm still talking to the wife and we're just hanging out and listening to EVPs and stuff. And we hear footsteps again coming. We actually hear footsteps coming up the ladder to the hatch. And I have my back to him and I'm like, "Oh, hey, Noah, how's it going?" Well, then there was no sound. And there was no Noah. So I actually turned around and I walked over to the hatch and I looked down the hatch and I'm like, "Oh, hey, Noah, are you here?" No sound, nothing. And I asked the wife, "Did you hear that?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I heard his footsteps the whole way. I heard him coming up the ladder." And I'm like,
That's at that place that we can go to.
"Yes, you can get it. Yeah, you can get it. Yeah, no problem. There's more
Where
stories, man."
where is this at again?
Muskegon, Michigan.
Do
I'll book it.
Bud,
Yeah.
I'll
we
book
need
it.
to go.
So here's
Let's
the cool
go.
thing.
I'll book it.
Yeah. So after,
We
the
don't
20
need to
minutes.
book it. We can just. I mean,
Yeah.
So just
I mean,
show up.
do we
Yeah,
have to
you
pay
can show up
her? Can we
as
just
public and go through the
show up?
museum and stuff. Yeah, you can go there. That's open to public. You have to see what their hours are, but yeah, they're open as a museum. It's like, I don't know, $6 or $10 or something
Oh,
for
I
the
thought it was something that you did with them.
I'm friends with Dan Holroyd and me and some other people know the owners of that. So we got
I
special
love
permission to get in there.
Dan.
Yeah,
We
he's
need
cool.
so next
We'll
next
get
time
him in.
we get on
Yep.
here, we need to get Dan on here because
Yep.
him doing the whole Ghostbusters Jeep
Yes.
and everything,
Yeah,
like
it's cool.
I really he is a really solid person to
Yeah,
talk
he
to.
is. He's good.
I really like Dan.
Yep.
Um, he's really cool.
Yep.
But
So,
I feel like that'd be really cool for like all of us, like if we
yeah,
could like talk to that person and be like, oh, well, we want to do a podcast,
sure.
a YouTube channel,
Yep.
and we can like do an investigation
Do a
there.
live or whatever. Yep.
Yes, do a
Yeah, yeah.
live investigation. I'm sure that they would.
Oh yeah. Well, they
You
have
know,
investigators there not real frequently, but a few times a year. They don't just have it open, but I could pull enough change to get us in there, I'm sure. So anyways, like I said, there was no Noah. He was not there. He wasn't. So then quite some time later, we hear the footsteps again. We hear the thing coming up the stairs. This time it was Noah. And I'm like, hey, what happened? He's like, oh, yeah. Well, I went out to my car. I didn't have batteries. So I went down to the local gas station and got some batteries and came back. So he wasn't even on the property when we were
he's
hearing those
gone.
footsteps coming up the stairs
Oh my
and up the ladders. And you could hear the metal of the building or of the floor as he was walking on it because it echoes through all those chambers inside the ship because this ship is like 4 stories tall. So, there's some cool stuff. Now,
so he wasn't even there when
he
you
wasn't even on the
captured that.
property during the time that we heard his
And
footsteps.
you have that on
I have it on, you can hear it on our voice recorders. You can hear the footsteps. You can hear me asking the wife, oh, hey, did you hear that? She's like,
that's so
yeah, I heard
cool.
that. I thought it was Noah.
That's so
So
cool.
we have that still.
So okay, so whenever I took Bo's my boo.
Yep.
So
Bozer Boo.
shout out to Bo. We love Bo. He's a skeptic like Bud, and I cannot wait
I'm
to
probably
get,
worse.
huh?
I'm probably worse.
I think you both are equally as bad, Bud.
Then I like him already.
Oh, he
I never
already
met him
like
yet. I haven't.
he's
Yeah.
See, and
he's
I'm
like
I'm
if you
just I'm like Bud in more
Yeah.
ways than like I say, 80-20 here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I think that you're a good medium for me and Bud on this
Yeah.
podcast because
Yeah, I
I
agree with
talk
that.
yeah, because I talk a lot of shit to Bud because he's a
He
shit.
does.
Well, I
Anyway,
mean, that's
love
Even
what
him,
off
buds are
camera.
for.
but love
That's
him.
what buds are for. Is to talk.
Missed you, honey,
I
but
missed you too.
I am straight talking shit. Like Bud, he is definitely
Do that again.
he is definitely straight skeptic.
Do that
So
again.
okay, so my
Well, I'm
boo,
gonna teach Bud some things. We're gonna
Oh my.
we're gonna have a learning experience, Bud. Okay.
okay, so anyway, so my boo, my beau, Bo, I took him one.
Both are boo.
I took him 1 year. It's my man, but it's not my man because we're not exclusive, but we're exclusive. Like, like it is what it is. Anyway, we're not gonna get into that because that's messy. But I
Yeah.
love him. Shout out to Bo Benchmer. But anyway, um, so I took him for because he was like, well, what do you want to do for your when we were together? He was like, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I was like, I want to go on a ghost hunt. Duh.
Fuck yeah.
Like, I want to go on a ghost hunt. So I booked the Monroe house and there was a room there that was not fully done and there was gold planets painted in the room. The room was all black and the room was painted with gold planets.
Okay.
Okay. So when we were there, we went into that room. It was me, him, and Judy. And before Judy got there, we walked around the room and we did EVP. Fast forward, we listened back to the EVP and we actually heard a little girl's voice while no one else was there. It was just me and him. And we were not talking. We just finished talking, and it was like literally a second later, and we heard a little girl say, "Where's my mommy?"
Oh no.
And I have it on EVP. I'll have to find it and I'll have to show it to you because
Yeah, that'd be cool.
it is like I have never heard EVP like that ever. Like it was like, "Where's my mommy?" And I was like, "Oh my God." And there's supposedly been a dad that was like a drunk or whatever there that was some kind of way towards this kid. Oh my God. The chair just moved and it was just Hank because his shit was wrapped around the chair.
She just saw her life flash before her eyes. I could
It
tell it.
scared
I
the
could
shit
see it in
out
her.
of me. Anyway,
Ugh.
but yeah,
Oh,
so we heard that on EVP. Well, anyway, while we were there, before we heard all that on EVP, we were walking around and he's a skeptic. So he was looking around at everything, like knocking on the walls and like he was big debunker, like Bud
That's
is.
cool.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
like
me.
he
I'm
he
that
was
way.
yeah, he I mean, he was raised um Jehovah's Witness.
Oh yeah, my grandmother was one of
And
those.
he does not he thinks that it's a bunch of fucking hooey.
Yep.
Like, and he's like, honestly, any religion is a bunch of hooey. Like the spirituality, he was like, I'm all for it. He was like, but I haven't had any of that, so I can't say
Yeah.
anything. But anyway, so we're walking around, he's knocking on walls, whatever, like trying to debunk stuff or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You can do that. Like, you're not gonna find anything. Like it's just a regular house.
Yeah.
So we go on through the night. He's seeing how our equipment is working. He's seeing that it's not that it's away from us, and he sees like our REM pods or K2 meters go off. And he was like, after we asked questions and we asked it to go off, and he's like, that's really cool because he would try to mess with it and it wouldn't go off, and he was like, oh, that's cool. Like I can't debunk that. So then we go down to this room that's all black and it has, gold gold planets on it, painted in the back.
Yep.
It was really weird, this room. It was really weird, and it's not like that anymore. Um it's just very odd the way it was painted. I don't know. But we were sitting there, me and Judy were sitting there and we were talking and we heard dogs barking, but it was really late in the night, and the way they were barking, it sounded, I was like, man, are those some hellhounds?
Oh
We were
no.
joking around. And I looked at Bo and she looked at him too, and his eyes were pure black,
Whoa.
pure black. And I looked at him and I was like, are you okay? And he was like, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
Eyes pure black. And
Like they're like those children with the
I was
black
like,
eyes
let's,
that
I
talk
was like,
about.
yeah, no, seriously, like some
Oh.
children of the corn shit, like
Yeah.
just straight, like black, like emotionless, like nothing.
That's
And he looked
strange.
so angry. And I was like, let's go outside and smoke a cigarette, babe. Like I just
Yeah.
need to take a break, whatever.
Sure.
So I take him outside and he's like, oh no, I'm fine. And I was like, no, we need to go outside. So I finally take him outside and we go to the back of my car to the trunk, and we're sitting there and we're smoking a cigarette, and he starts tearing up and he was like, I don't want to go back in that room.
Wow.
And I was like, what's wrong? And he was like, I really wanted to hurt you and Judy, and I don't know why.
Oh no, that's not good.
And he is a skeptic. And
Yeah.
he's like, I did not want nothing, no part to do with that room.
Huh.
Still to this day, he has this dream. So we go home, we go to bed. He has this dream where We're at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, with Conseco Fieldhouse, whatever you want to call it now, Indianapolis, where
Yep.
Pacers play. And we're in there and we're watching the game, and he's like, "You had to go to the bathroom." So I go to the bathroom with you. I'm waiting outside. I'm waiting for you. Everybody starts leaving, and you don't leave. And I notice that you're not in there. So I start looking for you. And then everyone's starting to leave, and everything's starting to shut down, and everything starts going black. And I see this door at the end of the tunnel that is black with a bright gold doorknob.
Okay.
And I go to reach for it, and I see smoke rolling out from underneath it. And I
Huh.
press my face up against it, and I hear a deep growl. And I hear you say, "Don't open it." And I wake up. And I was like, have you ever opened it? And he was like, no. He was like, I hear
Whoa.
you say, "Don't open it," and I never open it. And I was like, "Don't open it." He
Yeah.
was like, he was like, "I've always felt like you were my calling and telling me not to open it, like you're my savior." He was like, "But I'm so curious, like, what if I were to open it?" I was like, "Don't open the fucking door. Whatever you do,
Yeah.
don't open the door."
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. But he still says, and this is 6 years later,
Yep.
I still have that dream.
Wow. Hmm.
So pause for a second. You guys can talk.
What's up, bud?
Well, we get to talk now.
Yeah, you can talk. It's your podcast. I'm just chilling here. I'm
Oh, I know. I just had to make a joke. Because when she gets rolling,
That's okay.
uh,
Because I'm gonna get rolling here in a second.
I know, I know. I just had to get. I was gonna blow some shit.
Yeah.
It's in my
This
blood.
is great. It's been
It's in
smooth.
my blood. So no, we'll wait. Like when she comes back on, because the one thing I wanted to ask, it's like, because it seems like, and not to be the skeptic a hole that I am, but it's almost like when certain paranormal claims, like like for example, like I asked and she didn't answer. Well, I don't know if she was paying attention, but like when you do, and I want to get your opinion on this. It's just
Okay.
me asking your opinion. Like when people like say, "Well, I'm having this feeling," or like somebody's watching me, or somebody, like I'm getting these like weird feelings, and then the first thing I ask is, "Did you check the EMF?"
Yes.
And I don't check EMF. I don't check EMF for paranormal part of it. I check it because if most houses or buildings you go into, no matter what, if you got bad wiring and high EMF
Yeah, it
those
has
will cause those
scientifically
symptoms.
proven influences on the brain. They've
Right.
done
Yes.
And
studies. I've read the
so
papers.
so
Well,
whenever
like when I
well,
had Rich Valdez on.
whenever we did that hunt, I did an EMF reading as we were going through the house, as me and Bo were going through the house.
Hmm.
And
Were
the
you
only
seeing anything?
EMF reading I was getting was when I was like right up to the electrical box. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
that's typical. Yeah.
I mean, which is going to happen because it's an electrical box.
Well,
So, I
and I
mean,
actually have a story directly for this. So there's a hotel, it's near South Haven called Hotel Nichols. And in the back room behind the front desk, there's like a special bedroom that's just for the innkeepers, the people that work there. And there's a great big king size bed there. This thing is huge. And so everybody that's an employee there that slept in that bed has said they had crazy dreams, they had problems sleeping, they had all these issues. And of
Mhm.
course, this is a fairly popular place for investigators to go. And of course, they always tell this story about, hey, nobody can really sleep in this bed. And if they do, it's crazy. And
Oh,
that.
gotcha.
Okay.
Right.
So I get there and I go in there to debunk this thing, figure out what's going on. All right. So what do? I take my sensor board and I go right straight in the middle of that bed and I set it down and I turn it on and I start it logging. Well, the EMFs were so far off the scale, I actually had to set it to the next setting up. Yeah. And
Wow.
so I'm like, all right, there's EMF here so strong that I have to have it on the next level up. It's not even really safe for people to be here. Okay. So I start looking for the source and I'm going around the room and I'm not finding anything. I'm checking lights, I'm checking switches, I'm checking the TV, I'm checking everything that's near there. Yeah, there's EMF on those things, but it's the normal amount. But you
Yeah,
get
right.
near the bed and it's crazy. It's like off the scale. I mean, like a K2 would just have every lit all solid.
Right.
So, so I have like a K2 meter, and I know that's like an EMF
It
meter.
is. It's a primitive
They're highly
So,
inaccurate too, though.
okay.
okay, there's Bud. Anyway,
No, I'm being serious because there's
no,
He
too
is.
much.
He is
okay,
correct. But go ahead.
There's a
no,
lot of false positives that go along with the K2 meter.
and that's fine. But so what I'm asking Shane is, so what do you use that you can
Quantify it.
fix
Yeah,
that shit?
yeah. So my sensor board picks up EMF and it's very sensitive to it, and it can log every second the reading. All right. So I'm seeing it go up the scale. I'm doing that. Okay. So that's cool.
Okay.
So then I'm like, all right, there's got to be a source for this somewhere. So I searched the room, didn't find nothing. I went down in the basement and I paced off to find out where in the basement was directly below that room. Well, guess what? Down there are two giant electrical panels and two great big high horsepower electric pump motors that pump
There it is.
water.
There it is.
And so basically what happens is every time those pumps kick on to move water, the EMF just spikes off the scale. But then when the pumps shut off, they don't, because the pumps were bolted to the ceiling of the basement right directly under the bed.
Oh.
Well, no wonder
And the thing is they would
everybody
kick
was
on and
feeling
off.
that.
What?
No wonder everybody was feeling that energy.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is because they would turn on and off, because they weren't 100, they didn't run all the time. They only ran when somebody ran water in the building. So when those big pumps would kick on, the EMF would literally peg the meters. You'd have to move them to the next scale.
So here's my thing.
Okay.
As a person that believes in the paranormal,
Sure.
like full heartedly, like I I believe that that can have something to do as 100% with how someone feels. But my
Okay.
thing is, and I'm sure Bud's not going to agree with me. Love you, honey.
He's not listening anyway.
But
Yeah,
no, oh, he is
I'm listening.
he is full heartedly listening.
All right.
No, I'm listening.
But my thing is, spirits feed off of energy. That's
Correct.
how they communicate.
That's the theory that everybody pushes. Yes.
That's a theory, though.
That's the I said the word theory.
Right.
Okay.
Me, that's how I communicate. And honestly, like when everybody's like, "Oh, what kind of equipment do you use?" or whatever, I've only had a few pieces of equipment, but honestly, I feel like I am the best equipment
Well, yes,
when I go into an investigation.
that's true of anybody.
Whether it be a pay and play or an actual investigation. If
Yep.
I feel like the energy is thick, I'm like, okay, well, there's probably something here.
Yeah.
But with that being said, and that being happening, I can see energy being thicker and somebody laying in that bed. But if they're seeing something or experiencing something, that doesn't define them having that kind of energy. That doesn't mean that they're going to hallucinate and see something.
Okay.
You know what I
So
mean?
here's the thing. that
That's
we've
just
had.
my opinion. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion.
So this is just some knowledge that you can look up and learn some stuff later. Um, so there's this thing they've called the God helmet. All right.
Hmm.
And this was done in a lab. It was a scientific
Mm-hmm.
experiment where they took literally an old, basically a motorcycle helmet, and they wired low level antennas inside of it, and they'd put it on a person's head, and they would put low to medium levels of EMF, and then have them tell them about their experiences and stuff. And they would see things, they would
Yeah,
hear things. This would
I
happen.
know exactly what you're talking about.
Now, the second thing, aside from the God helmet, is another thing called infrasound.
Mm-hmm.
Infrasound is sound that is too low for the human ear to hear it, but your body still responds to it. And
Correct.
the quick story about this, and this also happened in a laboratory, although they weren't studying it, they figured it out accidentally. A scientist had this lab, and everybody said, "Oh, this lab is haunted."
Or ghost science.
Now listen, this is good. So these are scientists. They're not even doing anything with ghosts. They're doing stuff with totally different things. But three or four or five of the scientists would say, yes, this particular lab is really haunted and it's really weird. And things keep happening. I keep seeing things out of the corner of my eye. I keep hearing things. I feel like I I'm out of breath. I can't, my heart's messed up. Like I can't get a deep breath. Things like this. Okay. And so
Okay.
this goes on for years. And finally, um, somebody decided that, all right, something's weird in here. We're going to figure out what's going on. Okay. And so they do a bunch of tests. They do EMF and they do some EVPs and they do all this stuff because they had an actual group come in and look at this. This is a long time ago. And so they didn't find anything. But one of the guys had noticed that some things in the room had a certain vibration. If you put your hand on the desk or you touch things, you would feel this physical vibration, like something's vibrating. So then they started using instruments to measure the vibration, and they found out that there was a big ceiling vent fan that made a very low rumble when it ran, so low that most of the sound was below human hearing frequency wise. But it affects your human because your mind still hears it, even though you don't hear the rumble. And that causes hallucinations. It causes to
Mm-hmm.
hear voices. It causes
Right.
chest pains. So they've actually reproduced this. They'll put headphones on people and they'll play these super low notes and low tones. They call it the brown note. Some of those ones. Matter of fact, they've actually named it the brown note because for certain people, when they hear these frequencies, they literally will either feel like they have to go to the bathroom or they will literally crap themselves involuntarily. You look it up, it is a thing. This is scientifically studied. There are papers on it. So the low frequency rumbles can cause humans, though they can't hear it, they feel it as a heavy presence. They feel it as the air is thick. I don't feel
Mm-hmm.
good.
Right.
I hear things. All these things happen. So that's just a thing. I'm not saying that's what happened to you, but I'm saying,
Oh, I'm not saying you
Yeah.
are. So, do you have anything to go off of that?
No, he's absolutely correct on that. I know exactly what he's talking about, and he's absolutely. That's why. That's absolutely why, like a lot of ghost hunting teams, or like people that call themselves medium sensitives, or whatever they want to call themselves. I don't care. That doesn't bother me any. But when they go to places, they don't use any kind of critical thinking whatsoever. It's like, well, I felt this, I felt that. Well, I sensed this, I sensed that. But in this, like Shane just said, there's a lot of factors that goes into what people do witness and stuff like that. And I'm not sitting there saying ghosts don't exist
yeah,
or
me
whatever
either. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
or
that.
places. Right. But I'm just saying, it's just not every place you walk into is haunted. Not every house is You know, I mean, like even every investigation I've ever done, I'd say probably maybe just 1%. I would say
Yes.
I
There
might
there is a
have.
small percentage of
Yeah, there's a
strangeness.
small. I mean, there's something where I would be like, well, okay,
Well,
that's
okay.
interesting.
Now,
Yeah.
and that's a perfect segue into this adventure that I've had. Remember, I've told you I've recorded every byte of data that I've ever recorded at every
Right.
location.
Mm-hmm.
So after a couple years of using this high sensitivity board, I've discovered that oftentimes when EMF rises, the radiation level, like we're talking nuclear radiation, like uranium type radiation,
Right.
excuse me, that level drops simultaneously. Now, at first, when I discovered this by looking at data over long term, I'm like, wait a minute, this is happening because I started seeing it. And then I'm like, okay, let's go pull the numbers from like the last 10 investigations for any time I saw a spike in EMF. And let's go with the computer and look and see if there was a decrease in radiation.
Right.
I found it to be true on many cases,
That's
probably
pretty cool.
60, 70%. Now, my very first thought was, oh, I've got some flaw in my circuit board,
Right.
and something that's rising the EMF is also causing the radiation detector to drop. So I did a separate session in a place that's, you know, totally benign, where I
Mm-hmm.
actually put EMF intentionally near the board, watch the radiation, put radiation near the board, watch the EMF. Neither one interfered or affected each other at all.
Right.
But I can tell you, in several of the locations, many of the locations that we've been to where people have claimed the most activity, like our own group, who are
Mm-hmm.
mostly skeptics, have claimed the most strange things, are those same locations where EMF goes up, radiation goes down, or radiation goes up and EMF goes down. And they
Right.
always go the opposite. And I did what they call a meta analysis. That's
Okay.
basically where you take, they do this all the time in the medical world. So Brooke would understand, where they do a study and then they'll do a study at like 10 different hospitals.
I feel like you guys are kind of like punching me in the face on my beliefs, but
No,
it's
no,
okay.
No.
just chill. Listen,
No.
listen.
Okay,
I'm
it's
fair.
okay. Go ahead. It's
No. You
okay.
Okay.
have to see the
So
other.
they
I
do
mean, you
these
got to be on the
studies.
other. You got to see. You always try to see the other side of the spectrum.
I,
That's her
you know
job.
me. I'm just gonna talk shit. It's fine.
I
Go
know.
ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like me when I talk to Rich Valdez. Rich is a demonologist. I don't
No,
believe in demons,
no, and it's
but we
fine.
can still have a
But
good
I
conversation.
do.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Go ahead, honey.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of times they'll do a medical study and they'll study at like 10 different hospitals and they'll study this thing and then they'll combine the studies to find out, is there a big picture thing? I did that statistical analysis on the data, and definitely with a p-value of like 0.003 or something of that nature, which very means it's very much true statistically, mathematically. When you're in those locations that had the strangeness, we often got rises in EMF and drops in radiation at the same time, but not at other locations that were equally haunted,
Right.
but we didn't find anything. So that's part of the 20% that I talk about,
Okay.
that I find things that I've thoroughly I've spent hours in math
Right.
and sensor calibrations and checks and double checks.
Right.
And yet, statistically, in the locations that our members have said have been most haunted,
Right.
that occurred. In the locations
Mhm.
that weren't, it
Right.
typically didn't, or it was such a small percentage it didn't count. So that puts something to the paranormal
Piecing
side.
together
Yeah. They can. Right.
because I can tell you right now, Hannah House definitely active. I've had a lot of shit happen there.
I need to get in there
I
someday.
disagree.
Okay, well, I can tell you right now, bud, me and Erica were closing down one night and we
This is
were
gonna be a good
just
story.
we weren't even trying to have anything happen. We were literally just like talking, just
Yeah.
bullshit. Which I feel like, honestly, like whenever I've done a pay and play or whatever, which not necessarily an investigation, but a pay and play, where I
Right.
go
I know.
somewhere and I pay and I
Yeah.
investigate or whatever. I've noticed where I've literally just been sitting there and just like laughing and communicating with somebody, and then we'll
Mhm.
be quiet for a second, and then we'll hear something or something will pop off. And that's exactly what happened that night. Is me and Erica was there, and I went there to water ferns and water flowers and everything before paranormal day, and she had just got done cutting grass. And I was like, well, let's walk through the house, because she was like, I didn't lock it or whatever, and I had to go to the bathroom. I was like, well, we can just do like a quick walkthrough or whatever, make sure no one got through, but I'm sure no one got through.
Right.
It's the south side of Indianapolis, so we just wanted to make sure everything was okay. We were literally walking through, and we were just sitting upstairs, and we were just sitting there talking for a minute, just talking about Veda and everything, just normal talk.
Hmm.
Heard a woman's voice going, like,
What was
talking.
it?
She was humming. I heard me and Erica
Where
both heard
where did the
a
noise come
woman.
from?
Huh?
Where did the noise come from?
It was upstairs. We were sitting there fucking talking.
Huh.
And it was like right in the same room as us. No, I'm not trying to cuss.
What room was it?
But this podcast, people should know that Brookie's gonna cuss.
Oh, I
But
do.
I'm
I've
just
dropped a
I'm
few.
just I'm just saying.
Brookie has a potty mouth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have a potty
Brookie
mouth,
has a
so it's hard
Brookie
for
has a
me.
potty mouth. Brookie's been smoking cigarettes. Like, I mean, it is what it is. But I'm a good person, and I'm lighthearted, and I love everybody. So I'm all about the peace and vibes, guys. Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, either way, like we literally heard a woman humming, and Erica, like, I didn't say shit, and Erica looked at me, and she was like, and I was like, I go, what just happened? And she was like, you heard that woman humming, didn't you? And I was like, yeah. But I didn't want to
Where,
say anything
what room
because
was
I
you in though?
wanted to know what she heard.
What room was you in?
We were in the hallway. We were in the hallway upstairs, like between Mammal's room and the Lincoln room. And
Oh,
we were just sitting there talking.
That's cool.
okay.
Yeah.
But
We
what
we
direction?
were
What direction did it come from? Is what I'm asking.
we were literally just hanging out, and honestly, you can get with Judy, and I cannot wait until I get her on this podcast, because she's like, I have so much stuff to talk about. I was like, I can't wait, but I cannot wait until we get her on the podcast. But we've had experiences there,
Yep.
cold spots and stuff like that. But there was
Where?
one time where we were actually down in the basement, and we were singing old, you know, songs that, Underground Railroad songs that you would sing, like gospel songs and stuff like that. We were singing them, and we had equipment going off. And then there was another time that we did it, and we actually heard someone, and we didn't have EVP going, unfortunately, but we did hear someone talking to us in the background. We heard someone talking to us, and we were like, come in here. And I was freaked out, dude. I was freaking the fuck out, because I was like, I heard it. And I was like Judy is super calm, but I hear that stuff, and I'm like, I'm freaked out, but I'm like, I want to hear more. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
that's what I'm there for. I want to have that experience. But
Sure.
it's still like it's scary. It's scary and it's spooky at the same time, because you can't see it. You can hear it, you can experience it, but you can't see it. So it's creepy. Altogether, it's creepy. but I have had experiences at the Hannah House, and I would love for me and Bud to do a podcast there.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh,
I,
it would
I
be so cool. Oh,
yeah,
I already told them.
you'll be the first one we'll hit up, buddy.
I'll be there. I'll do it.
Well, I already told
I know
Cheryl
you
that.
will. I know you will.
I already talked to Cheryl, and she said she would love to do an interview there.
Oh, no, already talked to Cheryl. She said she'd be down. She said just let us know.
Cool. So I have an interesting story for Bud to decipher.
Decipher.
So yeah. So I was here. We're back at that same ship again.
I love
But
his laugh when he
Yeah.
said that.
But instead of in the wheelhouse where you control the ship, we were back in the radio room, which is basically a little room off to the side of the ship control room.
Okay.
Of
And in
what?
there is a whole bunch of antique 1940s radios, the original ones from the ship. And up on the wall
That'd be
are
awesome.
charts still with handwriting on them with all of the frequencies that they were using during the war in the 40s. Okay. So I'm thinking, well, I'm a ham radio operator. I'll go out to my car and I'll get my ham radio. And I brought it up into the ship and I hooked it onto the antennas on the ship, which are still there. And I hooked my own modern radio to it. Okay.
I want to get on the ship, dude.
Yeah, the ship is cool.
I do
So,
too.
anyways, I hooked up the radios to the 1940s antennas that are still on the ship. And at first, I'm just kind of tuning around on the shortwave bands and I'm not really paying attention. And then a little bit later, I was thinking, hey, they just wrote the frequencies on the wall from the 1940s. So I tuned to those frequencies on my ham radio. Now, I looked it up in this common era. Those are still ship to shore or ship to ship frequencies. They're still allocated for maritime use. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I expected to hear other ships and other
Right.
things on the Great Lakes because it's a huge body of water. Well, I didn't really hear any ships, just the normal natural atmospheric crackle and the noise, kind of like an old AM radio station when there's no station. But after about an hour, we started getting a thunderstorm coming in across the lake from Chicago. And I had noticed that every time there was a lightning burst in the distance, all of a sudden voices would start coming out on that frequency or on those sets of frequencies. And they were old time preachers. And they're like, and God said, blah, blah. And he started talking. I mean, these are old timey radio voices like you'd hear from the 40s. And then a little bit.
Why would that pop in at that
Well,
point?
that's the thing. So now we're listening a little bit more. So I turn on the computer because I have my ham radio connected to a computer and I start logging the audio. So I have all of this audio. I could send it to you sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, after a little bit, not only do you hear an old preacher that only comes in exactly when the lightning goes, and as soon as the lightning stops, it just fades down to static. But the interesting thing was we started hearing, we've been hit, emergency, and things like that. We start hearing voices like people on the radio talking, we've been hit, emergency.
Just fucking happened, though.
Yeah, and remember, this ship saw time on D-Day, and it had some casualties and things during D-Day. I have the audio recordings of that. Now, as soon as the storm went away,
Explain that, bud. How do you
as the
explain
storm
that,
went
bud?
away, it all went away, and it
I
never
didn't
made
even
sound
hear
the
it
rest of the
yet.
weekend. Yeah, so
Look,
basically,
Bud's looking at me like.
but I have the audio, and it's so clear. It's not like an EVP where you have to guess what they're saying. You know, this preacher is full volume. The people saying, yeah, we've been hit, emergency, emergency, over and over, are totally, completely clear. You could listen, you could pick any person out in the public and say, hey, listen to this. What does it say? And they will tell you what it says.
But
So-
why are you looking like you so mad, though?
I'm not mad. I didn't feel good all day.
But the cool thing is I have all of that. And like I said, it only happened while the lightning was happening. Now, I started talking to
That's awesome.
some of my
That's
science
awesome.
friends, and we're like, okay, what could happen that could cause that? And it's like, well, number one, there is no way, unless somebody's violating the law, that there can be a preacher on a maritime frequency. Number
I didn't know
two,
that.
huh?
I didn't know that.
Well, you got to remember they assign frequencies to things like this is for
Uh-huh.
ships, this is for cars, this is for cell phones,
Oh, okay, okay. I see what
which
you're
means
saying.
if you're hearing an old 19 somethings preacher talking
Uh-huh.
about God and giving a sermon, which was also something that they used to do during wartime in World War II to give morale to the troops. They would
Correct.
broadcast over the radios from America, from the Voice of America
Right.
shortwave. They would broadcast the sermons from Sunday mornings. Okay.
Right.
Also, this was a Sunday morning that we
Okay.
were having the storms roll in off the shore. This is like the third day we were there.
Yeah,
Okay.
evaluate that, bud.
So that's why I have the 20% that keeps me going, because if all I ever
I see what
did
you're
was
saying.
find no results and explain every single thing I ever seen, then I would quit doing paranormal, because why? It's
Right.
just, it would be bunk. But because of those few incidences where I have hard data, I can't explain it. I've talked to other people that are, radio guys. I'm a ham radio
Right.
operator myself. I can build my own equipment. I know that much about electronics. And yet
Right.
I'm getting a preacher's voice on a frequency that's not even legally allowed for them to be there.
I see what you're saying. That's interesting. I
Shane,
mean, don't get
I
me
am
wrong.
so glad that you came on the podcast tonight, dude.
No, I mean,
Because
I
we
like
have a
it.
good time.
No, hang on.
I have been so excited. No, you hold on, bud.
No, hang on. No, I
No,
like it that Shane's on because number one, because when you talk to people in the paranormal community, that will say, well, this, but they have nothing to back it. They have nothing to.
he has
But
a
Shane,
lot to back it
I
off
know. Hang
of.
on. That's
Okay,
what I'm getting
all
at.
right, okay, okay.
Shane is actually like, for example, like when people, it's almost like when you talk to psychologists and stuff like that. Shane, I like it that Shane's actual profession is electronics,
Yeah,
so he can
that's
actually explain what his claim is. He can back his claim, is what I'm saying. That I like, you know.
that's why I like talking to him at the Hannah house, even though
Right.
we were,
Yeah,
three
No, I
sheets
know.
under
we
the
were
wind
out on,
whenever we hung out or
yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
don't get me
it was
started on
But
great.
that.
you know what? We had a great, we
Yeah.
all had a great bonding night that night.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
we did.
awesome.
But
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
it really was. You're our Gary Oldman.
Commissioner Gordon. Yeah,
Oh,
no, Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman, Commissioner Gordon.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
not
but
just
yeah,
Gary
I
Oldman.
think
I keep all this stuff. So,
honestly, every time I think of you, I think of Fifth Element.
oh,
I think
so
of Commissioner
what
Gordon.
you two and your little buddy Olivia there, all three of you guys need to come up to my space sometime, and I will dig through the files on my server and I will pull up all of those things, and you can look at the analysis, you can look at the numbers, you can listen to the audio, you can see the
Oh,
video if there's video.
absolutely.
I have every, because the great thing about a computer is it doesn't have the human biases. If it
Right,
logs something, it logged it, and that's all there is to it. It don't know
right.
what's going on. So, when you do events, well, like here's another one. We were at the Hinsdale House in New York,
Oh,
super famously haunted.
friend of mine's went there.
Yeah, Hinsdale House. So
Yeah.
we had a beach ball sitting on the bed in Michael's room, I think it was, the front bedroom.
Okay.
I had my sensor board sitting literally a foot from this big giant. I mean, this is a big beach ball. And one of the claims was that they push things around in that house and stuff like that. So we intentionally set this ball on the bed. We set my board next to it. We started at data logging, and we left and went to dinner. And we were gone for probably 2 hours ish. We come back, the ball's sitting on the floor. Nobody's in the house. The house is locked. Also, that house does not have forced air heat. So there's no vents, there's no windows. I mean, there's windows, but they're all barred up and locked. And you can't, so there's no wind in there. There's no nothing. So we come here, the ball's laying on the floor. All right. First thing we do is get on the video and look at it. We see it about maybe, I don't remember the exact amount of time, but a fair amount of time after we left, you see the ball kind of rock back and then rock forward and then drop on the floor. Okay. At the exact same time that that ball moved and dropped onto the floor, I saw a massive spike in ions and a small dip in the radiation during the exact time that it moved. And you could literally clearly see the graph. On the graph, you can see the spike and you can see the dip right at the exact same time the ball moved.
The spirit didn't do that.
Repeat that again. It broke up a little bit.
What's to say that a spirit didn't do that?
I don't have any evidence to
Exactly.
say either way.
Like,
That's
and
one of the
By the
things.
way, I'm glad. I love on how even though you got the 20% belief, I love how you just said I don't have the evidence to back that, because a lot of people will not say that.
I don't have the evidence to back it, but also I don't have anything to say otherwise because, you know,
Right.
I mean, it's on a video. We have the audio. There was no sound. I mean, you could hear sound in the room, but it was just the natural background noise of a room. And you saw the ball move and you saw it fall on the floor at exactly the same second is when the spikes in EMF happen. Or excuse me, I'm sorry, wrong. Ions happen. And a small drop in radiation.
Here's my thing, and I'm not
Okay.
saying that, and I love that you are so scientific down to the point.
Yep.
And the fact that you're like, the scientific evidence is there, and I have no,
I don't have any
I can't,
explanation for that one.
I have no explanation for it. You
And
know
we've
what I mean?
played that video forward and backwards. We've looked at the data
Yeah,
multiple times.
so that's my thing, is like when something like that happens, my thing is because I am so spiritual, and if you go back to me and Bud's like podcasts and stuff, I was raised in a private school.
Okay.
Like I went to a Lutheran school.
Whoa.
From I
My mom
was
was a Lutheran.
like, what did you call it, Bud? The minor leagues of
The minor league of
Catholicism.
Catholicism.
Yeah.
Minor leagues of Catholicism.
Yeah.
I went to a Lutheran school from first grade until freshman year. So I know the Bible like the back of my hand. I am not
That's good.
a religious person at all. I do
Sure.
not follow a religion at all.
Yep.
I have friends that are atheists, as far as friends that are, you know, Christian or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Sure.
All different forms.
Yep.
My thing is I'm very spiritual.
Yes.
Which is why I think that I'm really good when it comes to being a paranormal investigator, because
Fair
I'm
enough.
very open to different things. I am, you know, like the Big Bang Theory, 100% believe in it. 100% believe in, 100%
Sure. Me
believe
too.
in, you know, evolving
Yep.
evolution.
Me
I
too.
believe in evolution and everything like that.
Yep. Me too.
You know, I believe in dinosaurs and everything like that. You know, like
We know they existed.
you know, everything like that I believe in. My thing is because I am so spiritual, there are things like when it comes to shit like that you just talked about, I and there's no disproving. You just got to kind of debunk it as okay. You can't debunk
I
it.
just leave it in what I call the unknown bracket.
It is there, and
Yeah.
it could possibly be paranormal. Me, I would disprove it as that is definitely paranormal. You, I love
Well,
that.
and like I say, we weren't even in the house. We were all
Right,
at
and the
supper.
thing is that I love that you're like, I can't find a thought for it. I can't come
Yep.
up with an explanation for it.
And I admit it. Yeah, I can.
But you're not saying it's paranormal. But at the same time, you're like,
I don't know. And that's what keeps me going because I keep
I can't
finding
come up
those
with a
things.
reason for it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about you is because you're like, I have all this equipment and all this stuff that I'm doing to disproving or debunking,
Yep.
and I can't debunk it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's
So
true. That she's right.
I absolutely love that because that is something that is really good to bring to this podcast because I am a firm believer. Bud is a huge skeptic.
And
And
I'm
No,
in
I
the
think
middle.
but there's a lot of things that made me a skeptic, though.
Sure.
Because
no,
at
I'm not
first,
saying it like it's a bad thing.
No, it's
Honey,
not a bad thing.
I'm
honey,
just
I'm a
saying,
skeptic.
honey,
no,
don't get
no,
mad at me,
no, hang
babe.
on. I'm
Don't
not
get mad at me,
mad.
baby. Don't get mad at me.
Oh, good Lord, I'm not mad. Hang on. No, like in the beginning, when I first started the whole ghost hunting thing, when it started getting popular and all that, and well, not really, because I actually started before it got kind of popular, really. No, I mean, it was more. I had more of a belief system, or I was more open-minded. But the more I got into it, okay, the more investigations I've done,
Right.
it's kind of like each investigation. It would be like, okay, why didn't we do
Well,
this? Why
and
didn't
well,
a lot
and
of stuff was mental health. Was linked to mental health. A lot of stuff was linked to psychological issues. A lot of stuff was led to like drug use, blah blah blah.
well,
So
and
then I started going, maybe I need to be more of a critical thinker. I need to be more thinking more of the science part of this.
so
Like,
the thing
yeah,
with as far as like drug use and stuff like that, and I'm not trying to interrupt you or whatever, but like as far as
no,
like
it's
drug
okay.
use or people that aren't open minded, like I get it that they may be a little bit more vulnerable to the spiritual world, but like my thing is like I've been involved with all that. I'm not going to try to act like a saint. Like because
I
we
mean,
know
that's why I quit
Brookie
doing.
is
But
not a
that's why
saint.
I quit doing
But
investigations because people are batshit crazy.
There
like
are
my thing,
those.
Yeah, and I
honey,
quit
I
doing it.
am crazy.
Oh
I hung
God,
out
I've
with
known
you.
that since day one.
Well,
I knew that in five. I can figure that out in five.
but the thing is I've actually brought people on
I mean,
investigations that have never had anything go like they're completely open minded
right?
and they're like and I've told them like I've never been to this place, and I'm telling you right now, I've been to a lot of pay and play places that either everything can happen or nothing will happen at all. So I don't want you to be disappointed if you pay this money to go
Yeah.
here and
yeah.
nothing happen at all. Because I've been to these places where it has been 100% active
Well, it's almost like when people bitch
and I
about the
can't
Hannah
explain
house.
anything, and then there's nothing that happens at all.
Well, I
And
mean,
then
when people, yeah.
I brought people to places where they've had really good experiences. And then I've also brought people to places where they're like, I don't know if I want to go on another ghost hunt with you. Oh my God, Hank, why are you freaking out? Stop.
No, but I mean, back to what I was saying, it's like when people gripe about, I'm not just saying the Hannah house, like, it just first thing that popped up. But when people do those pay and play, whatever, and then they get mad about it because, and I'm like going, but no one told you to pay the money, or no one forced you to do it. It's you go out and have a little fun. To me, those places are just to go out and have a little fun. In my eyes, in my opinion. I mean, but if that's what all people want to do, then fine. I mean, do your thing. I
Well,
mean, because
but
you
most
spend
of the
money to go
people,
fishing, you spend money to
most,
go bowling.
right,
So,
right,
it's a little
Yeah.
different,
right.
you
But
know.
most of the people that I get into that are people that are like us that are into more the historical factor of it.
Yeah, right.
Like
Yeah.
hearing the history of the
And I
places.
like that part too.
Oh, absolutely. And
I mean, I love to go in old buildings and cool stuff.
well,
Yeah.
and that's something that me and you clicked on, and that's definitely something that me and Bud clicked on. And
Yep.
that's why Bud wanted me to start doing tours at the Hannah house is because
Sure.
he knew I was a big history nerd. I love learning about
Yes.
history and old
No, I brought you on
places
because I
and
love abuse.
do what?
Oh, he loves abuse. All right.
I can't stand him. I really can't. Like
So
I'm actually this is actually going to be my last night on the podcast.
whatever.
Oh, bullshit. You
I
missed it.
believe you like
even
I
see
believe the
him.
politicians.
Yeah, bingo.
He's the worst. He's the worst.
So here's one thing, Bud, for you to think about. Okay.
Yeah.
What
When I
does
first went on my first few investigations, I was only there to repair people's broken REM pods and whatever because they're like, hey, my shit's broke. Can you fix it? Yeah, sure, I'll fix
Right.
it. And so they're like, hey, why don't you come on an investigation? When I went on my very first few, I was 99.9% skeptic. I was like Kenny
Right.
Biddle skeptic. Okay.
Oh, I know, Kitty.
Yeah. I was like that. And then because of 5 or 6 years of solid statistical data from sensors and still having strange things that no matter how many things I try to figure out or try to debunk with, there
Mhm.
are a few cases that no matter what I do, I can't figure them out. And they are consistent across multiple investigations, across multiple years of time. And I can statistically show that, yes, these things, these events or environmental things are happening.
Right. Right.
Now, that's where I've over time raised myself up to about the 20% level. I
Mhm.
started at the less than 1%. And because of the fact that I have so much data and so much time and so much
Right.
analysis in it, I mean, I've literally reviewed these numbers with PhD level people. I
Right.
wrote the software that does the analysis. I built the sensor board that does it. I know how everything works from top to bottom,
Right.
and yet I still see strange patterns over time
Right.
that are consistent. And so I have raised myself to the 20% level and I've kind of just hung there. And
Right.
so that's something to keep in mind when you're out investigating because I was closed minded and I was very, blinders on like a horse, not paying attention. This is all bullshit. Why am I here at
Right.
first? I was there to look at the building, hang out with whatever cute girls were there and do whatever. And
Right.
so, but
I
over
don't
time
blame
with
you
that,
at all.
what?
I don't blame you there at all.
Yeah. So I was, and so because of the data and because of the, 1 in every 5 investigations, I find some strange thing that I can't explain.
Right.
And no matter how much I do and how many times I
Now,
go back, that
now,
has
like,
raised my percentage.
right.
So there you
Now,
go.
okay, one night we was at Rose Hotel, which is north of Indianapolis.
Uh-huh.
It's such a
Now,
good experience there.
hang on. I've been there multiple times. Okay,
Yep.
9 times out of 10, nothing's ever happened. I never witnessed anything. But one night,
Because you're a dead zone. You're not open.
will you hang on?
Yeah.
Let me
Let
finish.
him roll.
Yeah, let me roll. Because this might cheer you up a little bit.
You know what? I feel like I have 2 against 1 right now.
No, just
No,
hang
because
on.
that's okay because we had 2 against Bud just a few minutes ago. So it's all fair
You've been
play. You
blowing
guys can
shit
gang up
all
on
night,
me
so
next.
All
you've been,
right. Okay.
you've been blowing me
Whatever.
shit all
Go
night.
for it, Bud.
Hang
You
on.
got the floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You got the point. Okay.
Okay. So we're at Roto. This has been years and years ago. Now there's only 3 of us in the house, all in the same room, one night, and you hear it kind of down the hall. You don't hear it close to us. It's more of. And that night, I could have sworn I heard like you could hear a little girl giggle.
Yep.
Like I mean, audible. I mean, it was with. And then when I looked up and I didn't say a word, because you know how it is. You're somewhere and somebody go, oh blah blah blah. Did you? Then the next person goes, oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's
So the
confirmation
telephone game,
bias.
like the telephone game. Okay, so I look up and my cousin Tony, he goes, holy shit, did you hear that? And I go, what'd you hear? And he goes, I could have sworn I heard a little girl giggle.
Yep.
And I went, well,
And I've had
okay.
almost the same
Now,
experience.
now Mike Couch, the guy that owns it now,
I love
I was
Mike,
talking.
dude.
Mike's awesome. Mike is one
He is really
of the
cool.
greatest guys you'll ever meet in your life. Mike's a good dude. And I got talking, me and him sitting at the table there in that dining room, and I was telling him about it because I told him I was like, I don't witness a lot of stuff here. I go, other people do, but and I've been asleep upstairs. He goes, I could have sworn I would hear it too once in a while. He said, but I brush it off sometimes. So back to what I was saying about being a skeptic. Sometimes people get skeptic and cynic mixed up. Okay, like I said earlier, I've never once said ghosts don't exist. I just said I haven't seen the evidence to back the claims.
Yeah, and
So
I
that's
say the
my thing.
same thing. I don't say that ghosts don't or do exist,
Right.
but I've seen enough evidence of strangeness to at
Yeah,
least
okay, that's
move
fair.
my
Acknowledge
meter.
that they exist.
Well, and
They
here's another
exist.
one that we've had. We did an investigation. We had two PhD people, professors. One was one was a psychologist, and one is a biochemist. And it was me. And the three of us are on an investigation, all men. One of them had a voice recorder in their front shirt pocket. And we're just walking around talking about setting up equipment and doing stuff. And on that recorder, in two or three different spots, there's a woman's voice that just and it's very clear that it's a woman. And there are no women present on this property. And this property is way out in the middle of the sticks. There's no city lights, there's no traffic, there's no nothing. It's just, and there is women's voice on that voice recorder. I still have that recording under
More
that.
than one?
No, one woman, because
It's just
basically
one.
they were
Okay.
talking about, hey, can you move that camera tripod over there? It'd be better. And she's like, yeah, I think it would, or something to that effect. It was a long time. I don't remember it really well, but
Okay.
you could literally hear the voice where she answered a question like, yeah, I think that would be better, or something. And it's on there, it's clear, you can hear it. And there were no females present at this investigation.
Right.
So that was another one and I played it, it was the other guy's recorder. He played it back later for us a bunch of times. And we're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no women
that's
here.
No,
that's
I
the
mean,
thing
I've had.
with the Monroe House. When I mean, I've had like EVPs where I've like heard like growls or like disembodied
Yeah.
voices, and I'm like, okay, that could be something. But like at the Monroe House, like I literally heard a little girl's voice, and Bo heard it too because we listened to the EVP together,
Mhm.
hear a little girl say, "Where's my mommy?" or "my mommy" or something
Mhm.
around that time. And you could hear it plain as day.
Yep.
A little girl, a child, a
Yes.
little girl. And you could hear it. And there was no one else in the house. There wasn't anybody outside, like nothing. So
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, that's something. That
Well,
is
and like
evidence.
we were at the Van Buren Poorhouse. We had about 5 or 6 investigators, and we were all upstairs. Dan Hallroyd was with us, and we were upstairs, and we're all just kind of bullshitting and talking and eating some snacks, and we're hanging out in the jail area upstairs and at the poorhouse. All of a sudden, almost all of us started rushing down the stairs at the same time because we heard singing, a little girl singing downstairs, and nobody else is in this building but us, and we're all in the same room. So we literally, not even hey, did you hear that? It was everybody just started rushing for the stairs at the same time. So obviously, all of us heard that same little girl singing downstairs, and we got down there. Of course, there's nothing. We walked around the hallways. It's 3 stories plus a basement. So we were going up and through all the floors. We split up and we tried to find, no, there's no kids. And the front doors are still locked. So those things, like you said, bud, do happen,
Yeah.
and So that's,
I mean, I've never said it didn't. I mean, it's just,
it's just, how do you explain, there's no little girl there, but
right.
5 or 6 of us heard her singing at once and just immediately started shooting for the stairs because we want to know what's going on,
Right.
you know? So there's something there for sure.
Yeah.
So
And I am so glad that you came on
yeah, I'm
tonight.
glad to
Yeah,
be
I am
here.
too. I really am.
You
When I
were
was at the Hannah
absolutely,
house, the
you were,
vibes between you and Bud and Olivia and whoever that one other dude was that was chilling there,
He was
it
dating.
was, huh?
Dating, probably.
I don't know who it was. He drove a pickup truck, something.
that was
It's like,
Danny.
Yeah.
That's
The,
Danny.
the vibe from you guys, it was natural. It felt good to be there. Sitting by the fire later at night was great. You
We're
know,
all we're all family.
yes.
yeah.
So
And it's awesome.
so now you're family,
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
you're in with us.
Cool.
So,
So,
but we
No,
will
but I mean, I'm
definitely.
glad you came on too, because like I said, I mean, because it's I kind of feel, and I love it when, like I said earlier, I love it when when you were talking about even your experiences or whatever. I mean, you got something. Sometimes you have what you do to back it up.
yeah.
Whether it's paranormal or not or whatever.
Yep.
Because like you probably know as well as I do. Like I've been in the paranormal community for a very long time. Like I said, I've worked
Yeah. And I'm
with a
kind of a
demon.
noob. I've only been at 5, 6
Yeah,
years.
and I've worked with a demonologist. I've worked
10
with,
years.
Yeah.
you know, so, but you know as well as I do, a lot of people, and I call it social media bullshit,
Oh, yeah.
where
They're
people will
there
go
for
on
the
there. Well,
views,
yeah, they're there for
views and likes.
bingo.
They're there for the fame. So
Yeah,
I've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I met Bud a long time ago.
yeah, we met a long time ago.
I met Jason a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Jason's a cool dude. I like him.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jason's real cool. I met Olivia a long time ago. I met Judy, and I never got into any
I met Judy
par-
years ago.
I never got into a paranormal group until I met Judy.
Right,
And it was because real recognized real.
right.
And that is why I got intertwined with her. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah,
And
she's a good gal.
she's dude, she's my person. She's my soul person. I swear to
That's
God. Like
awesome.
she's amazing. But I mean, like when she meets people and I meet people and we're like, because she told me that she met you and Dan,
Yeah.
and you guys talked about, the castle,
Yep.
and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I was like, wait, who did you talk to? And she told me, and I was like, oh, I talked to them too. So she was like, because she was telling me they seemed really cool or whatever, and they seemed real. And then when I told her who I talked to, and she was like, that sounds like the same guy. And like, so I mean, but the thing is like, I never got into a paranormal group because, no offense to any of them, like, have
It's
your fun.
bullshit.
Yeah.
But I am
Too
all
much
about
drama.
real, and I'm all about
Yeah.
finding facts and
Yeah,
debunking and
Yep.
everything. Like, I am
Me
a
too.
very spiritual person, but I am all about debunking and everything like that.
right.
And most paranormal teams are not like that. And I
Correct.
don't
No,
and I don't like that. And I
they
found that
like
out.
popularity.
Right,
They like
exactly.
attention.
They're
It's about
wanting it
attention and
for
popularity.
they want the fame. They want
Yep.
the
Yeah,
fame.
And I
That's
don't
all
give two
that's all
craps
it is.
about it. I
I don't
mean,
either.
I don't. I
I
mean,
It's
mean,
like
here,
it's like conventions. I don't go to the
Shane,
conventions because people like I don't view those people as celebrities or I don't put them on pedestals. Because they don't do anything more different than what we do. You
correct.
know,
Yeah,
so it's
the
like
whole field is kind of
well,
stagnated actually a
it
little
well,
is,
bit.
and
and
so
it has really for a long time though.
my buddy Chris actually wants to get that Kalani I don't
Oh,
know if you guys have
I
heard
got a
of
story
him.
about that dude. Hold on. I'll tell you.
I literally just heard about him, and I actually heard from Judy even that he is actually pretty cool. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I
But
told Chris,
his content's bullshit, though.
"Well, let me get his info." And he was like, "Oh, well, he's just too busy." And I'm like,
What?
"Well, maybe I can find it and shoot him a message, you know." I mean, but like my thing is
His,
I'm not in
hold
it
on.
for the I'm not in it for the fame.
His representative emailed the Hannah House and wanted, well, my client. I'm like, will
Oh,
you
come
please quit
on.
acting like, like, shut up, you know,
Yeah.
like get real, people. Well, my client wants to do this location and blah blah blah. So I answer it just like I do everyone else. You're no different to me. Okay, well, it's blah blah blah. This is how much it is. Never
Yep.
heard nothing back because they wanted it for free.
Yeah.
You know, which whatever, that's fine. I don't care. But just because you're on, and then it led into, well, my client has so many followers on TikTok.
Yeah. It's like, what?
Uh,
So what?
so
So,
100 subscribers, but I tell you what, since I've been on here, I have had such a
shout
good
out to all 5 of you too.
right.
oh,
Like
The only 5 of you that watches. Shout out.
yeah.
you know what? I love the people that have came on here. I love just the random chats that me and Bud have.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
You know what I
awesome.
mean? So if you ever just like are free on a Friday or Saturday night and
A
me
lot
and
of
Bud
times I
are
am.
on
We can do stuff. That'd
and
be
you
great.
just
We'll have
want
a
to read
three.
and
We'll
you
have a
just want to
threesome.
random talk,
Oh my God.
A
you know what?
paranormal threesome.
Hey,
Paranormal menage a trois.
hey, I like y'all's style. I'm just saying. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Well, and here's the thing that is my little tiny personal pet peeve with the paranormal community, especially the
Right.
people that want the views and stuff. They
Right.
come in there and they're like, oh, let's do a live investigation.
Right.
So what that means is your cell phone can't be in airplane mode, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore it's filling the whole room with EMF as it's broadcasting your
Right.
live
Yeah.
production. And
Yeah.
now, oh yeah, look at all these meters are going off, and all my
Right.
computer
It's
is going
because your
crazy
cell phone's right next to it,
to
you
it, and they're walking
dumbass.
Mm-hmm.
around and they're
Well,
talking
no
about it,
They're
shit.
like,
and I
oh,
just
look. And I'm like,
it's
it's
like you
because your
cannot
cell
live
phone's
stream.
right next
Now,
to it.
if you want to video record it with your cell phone in airplane mode, and then upload it later,
Right.
good to go. But
Yeah.
if you're live streaming it, you're streaming it over the Wi-Fi or over the cell towers, and so the whole room
Correct.
is filled with EMF,
Yep.
and it's
Shane,
bullcrap.
Yeah.
dude,
I agree. 100%.
Shane is the dude. He needs to get on fucking shit with us.
I would
Yeah.
do it. And
I mean,
also,
no bullshit. I mean, I
yeah,
really love tonight's podcast because it's almost like, because I felt Shane brought
I feel
everything
like
to
he
the
was
table.
on your side and then he was
No,
also
they're
on
just,
my
oh
side.
my
No,
God,
he
here
was
we
on but he
go.
was
I'm on
okay,
both.
chill out.
Oh,
Okay,
uh,
Bud's getting his feelings hurt. Anyway, I'm
like,
just saying he was on but he was on both of our teams tonight, and
I
that's why
try to
I
be.
like this. Is
Yeah.
because this is why Bud wanted me to get on the podcast, is because
yeah,
the diversity. And you, Shane, are a
brought
tech
it all to the
savvy guy,
table. Brought every bit of it to the table.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Well, and here's something too
and
is
you look like Gary Oldman.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
well,
you look like Gary Oldman.
that's true.
love you, handsome.
Commissioner
Right.
Gordon, not Dracula. So,
So the other thing is, I think it would be kind of neat to give trainings on how to do some of the stuff that I do to other paranormal investigators that have a true heart and really want to learn. I don't give two fucks about the people that are just
right.
wanting to make TV shows. I
Yeah.
want to train other people. How do you do the science? How do you do the statistics? How do you do the data logging? Why do you do it? What is it really recording? Because here's an interesting thing that you'll enjoy this one, Bud. So I'm on this investigation, right? Remember I told you I fix people's equipment.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
All right. So I'm on this investigation and somebody's got a REM pod and it's working and they're doing some stuff and it's beeping and doing all of its normal thing. Eventually, somebody knocked it off and it fell on the floor
Mhm.
and it stopped working. And of course, immediately they're bringing this thing to me and they're telling me about it. And they're like, oh, it was working. It was picking up stuff and I was getting all kinds of stuff. So I decided, okay, fine. I start taking it apart. I realized, well, this is a knockoff REM pod. It's not a real one. It's like a
Oh, so,
Chinese.
so it's like homemade. Okay.
No, it's not homemade. It's a purchase
Oh, okay,
from a
okay.
ghost
Oh,
store or
I
whatever
see. Okay,
somewhere.
I see what you're saying.
But I
Okay.
took it apart and I started looking. I was like, I've seen REM pods before. This doesn't look right. So I started looking up the chips, the microchips that were on there on the internet on my cell phone. And eventually I realized, wait a minute, this thing doesn't sense anything. All it has is a random timer that every so many seconds or minutes, it runs the beepers and flashes the lights. There's no sensor in it.
Oh,
There's nothing. All it is a random timer
Bullshit.
that every so many
nice.
seconds goes beep, 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 and beeps. And I basically took it back to him. I handed it to him. It's like, well, I can fix it, but I'm not going to because it's not a real piece of equipment. Number one,
Right.
it's just a
But
random
he got
timer.
super salty.
Oh, well, they were like, well, but they were cheaper. It's like, well, guess what? They were cheaper.
Well, that's
You
why.
You just
But
got what you paid
literally,
for, buddy.
there are ghost items that you can purchase at the expensive ghost stores that have nothing in them but random timers that just flash the lights and make the sound at random intervals.
So I actually want to get with you and I want to make an SLS camera.
Okay.
Um, I want to buy the equipment and make one on my own.
Okay.
Because I've seen other companies like that have so-called been legit, and I'm not saying that they're
Yeah.
not, but because I have ties to you and I trust you as being in with the scientific factor and
Yep.
everything like that, and you are all about debunking and everything, you want to get down to the facts.
Yep.
I want you to help me create an SLS camera.
Okay. The technology of creating the camera is no big deal. I mean, there's
It's
people
really
do it
not hard, but I want somebody that's going
yeah.
to actually be able to help me put it together. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I can definitely help you put it together. But I will
wait,
tell
where do
you, I
you
know
live? Where do you
live
live?
I live near Sturgis, Michigan.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
So I'm
that's
just
so far away.
I live
It's
well
not that
actually
far.
right there.
Yeah, it's not that far.
It is where you're in what are you in India or are you in Fort Wayne?
I'm below
I'm in the
Indianapolis.
heart of Indy.
Okay, so yeah, and you probably know my friend Aaron
Very good.
Weber.
Oh, yeah, I know Aaron.
Yeah.
I know her real well.
So I visit her every once in a while and hang out
Okay,
down
yeah,
there
I
in
know
Indy.
Aaron real well.
So, but yeah, it's basically 3 hours and like 15 minutes. My house.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's only.
I mean, you guys are
drive.
driving investigation that far, no big deal. So it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, so
You
that's what it
just get
is.
on your 69 and you go north.
Right.
Okay. Well,
But anyways,
I mean, we chat pretty
yeah.
regular, so
Yep.
I'll get with you as
Yeah,
far
it's cool.
as putting that together.
Yeah.
So,
But here's one thing that I will tell you about the SLS before you spend all the big bucks.
I
Okay.
was getting ready to. Yeah, thank you for this.
shut up, bud.
Okay.
No,
So
I'm being serious. Thank you.
no, so here's the deal. The SLS was originally to go with a video game console, and the cameras in it were designed to see the humans with their controllers in front of the TV. And they were such that as the humans did their motions, like dancing or whatever,
Right.
it would make the characters on the screen do the same thing on the video game console, on the
Right.
TV. That was
Right.
its whole purpose. Well,
Right.
the whole thing is Microsoft wrote software algorithms that basically look at all the pixels on the screen that SLS is picking up, and it looks for human shaped patterns. The
Mhm.
problem occurs is anything that has a rough human shape to it, it puts that stick figure to it. because
but if
it's
it's up
looking for
against, but
people.
if it's up against a wall and it's showing a human shape, then
Okay, but here's the difference. What
okay.
you see with your eyes as a blank plain wall, the
Yes.
infrared cameras in that see the heat and the insides of the walls. They can be seeing the wiring inside the walls. They can see the studs inside the walls.
Right.
That
Correct.
infrared camera can see the heat differences, not just looking for a human body. And so it sometimes could mistake a blank wall for a human body and put
So you
little
got
creatures stuck to the side of it and
so
all
you got a
kinds of
big false
creatures.
positive.
It's a false
Dan-
positive.
but what
Yeah.
if it's like dancing or
Well,
whatever? Like
then it's a really talented. I don't know, but what I'm telling you is it's a lot of money
we will talk
for
about this
dubious
later.
Hey, Brooke, do
reasons.
you remember
Okay.
him mentioning Kenny Biddle?
Yes.
Find Kenny on YouTube, and he debunked it. And he
Yeah.
actually shows you why you should not use it on a ghost hunt.
Yeah.
And he
Now,
actually,
also,
Uh,
but
okay, I'm
also
not going to talk
remember,
about that.
Brooke. Also remember though that Kenny's still stuck at the 99.9% style, and he is very cynical a bit. I mean, just I love the guy. He's a cool dude, and I've talked
he's
to
a
him in
very,
person,
yeah, he's a real nice
and
guy.
I've sent pictures and stuff back and forth for
I'm
like
just a very
about
open person, and
yeah,
honestly, like if I'm talking to somebody and I have an SLS camera up and
yeah,
I'm like, show yourself, and
okay,
then something shows itself, and I'm like, can you get close to so and
sure.
so that's like in the camera, and then I see it get close to someone? I feel like that's something. Like
Well,
I'm
and
just saying,
obviously it's definitely something because it's showing on the screen. The only thing,
right?
the only thing I'm saying is, because I care about you, I don't want you to spend a lot of money
On
on
bullshit.
something that might be false leading. Okay, is that a good
It's kind of like
explanation?
even like,
Okay.
yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
it's almost like I
Well,
just mentioned, earlier about the
then
K2
we
meter.
just need to be low budget, my friend.
Okay, well, I mean, they're building the thing, no problem. It's just I haven't used enough or spent enough time with it, and I haven't done enough the data analysis from it. I would like to dump its brains out and look inside of it
Right.
to say, is this a good scientific equipment or not?
Okay.
Because I have a suspicion that because it's designed entirely to look for human shaped figures,
Yes.
everything that it sees, it first assumes is a human and then goes, well, maybe it's not.
And
So,
you know what? And
okay,
I'm fine with that. If
okay.
you want to work with that
I,
and do that, then that I'm fine with
Okay.
that.
All right. I just wanted to be very clear because I don't, want any paradrama
Yeah, no,
because
no.
I'm a zero drama.
Honey, I can tell you what. You look like Gary Oldman and I love you. Like there's no drama.
Okay.
We cool.
All right. All right.
But yeah, no, if we could try to get one together and like figure
Yeah.
out the knickknacks with
We
it or
we can do it. We
whatever
will
and
get to we'll
see if
talk
it
off show
see
and figure it out.
yeah, uh, like we don't
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Best bud.
And you were right. You were absolutely correct about Kenny, though. He is at that. He
He's
is.
so
I kind of. I compare him to James Randi a lot.
James Randi and also Ben Radford.
Yeah.
They're
But
all in
his
that same
explanation.
little
But I
group.
will say his explanation on why you shouldn't use or BSL the
It
Connect.
was
I keep
good.
saying
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it because I
it's
know
he,
him.
he did a really good explanation on it, and
And the other
he
thing he's
broke what
really
I
good
like that he
at
did.
is
But he did
photography
break.
because he's a
Oh,
professional photographer. I mean, he does
uh-huh,
photography. His
right.
photography is very good, and a lot of times if I get somebody that sends me a picture and I'm like, it might be something, might not, I'll run it past Kenny just to get a
Yeah.
second opinion before I tell the people, yeah, it's bunk or oh yeah, it could be something, you know.
Right.
And also that's part of the reason why I never use flash photography. I've learned to put my camera into fully manual mode
Mm-hmm.
and take pictures, even if it's almost completely dark with long exposure, etc., to
Full
not
Right.
spectrum
have
camera. I want to
bugs
get the
and
full
dust and things.
spectrum because I have
Yes.
a flash camera
Yep.
And I feel like with the full spectrum, like I'd be able to get better pictures.
Well, the thing about
And
full spectrum, I don't know if it'd be, excuse me, better pictures, but because it sees things outside of your human vision abilities, it sees infrared, which is below your human vision, and it sees
Correct.
ultraviolet, which is above it. If there is a strange anomaly, there would be more chance of you catching it.
right, and there'd be no flash.
There would be no flash because it would
Right.
be completely dark. Now, one word of caution is if you still use an infrared light with it, it's the same as a flash, even though you don't physically see it. The camera
Right.
sees it as though it was a flash. So if a little bug goes across the screen or there's a dust particle floating, you will see
Oh no,
nothing. It will be totally
I'm
dark,
trying to
and you'll
catch
see an orb.
figures. I'm trying to catch figures in shadows, honey. Like
I understand. Okay. So I'm just telling you the facts so that when you go to get your stuff or whatever, that you get the right stuff and you're getting real equipment that's really doing things. You're not getting fake REM pods and things like
Right.
that.
I love that you haven't been doing this that long, but the fact that you're so scientifically involved with it,
We're writing papers on this stuff,
I
so
dude, I love it. Like I absolutely love it. And it has been a great time tonight. I am definitely getting tired and I gotta get up.
yeah, we got to get rolling too. It is 11:30 almost
I
my
gotta get
time.
up early because my kid has a doubleheader tomorrow in softball. Go Veda.
Go
Yeah.
Vader.
Go. Yeah.
Go Darth Vader.
Yeah, Vader. I call her Vader.
All righty. Well, it's been a great show, and I've been glad to come on, and I'll be on again. You guys
Dude,
can't get
come
rid of
back
me.
on any time, man.
I
Anytime
will.
you want.
Yeah, if you guys are going, just pop me a message, and I'll
Yeah,
let you know
I
if
was
I'm
gonna
if
say,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
because
free.
like
I'll jump in. If I'm not,
I
I'll say
felt
no.
like you brought. This is no bullshit when I say this. Through all the people that I've had, which I've loved almost everybody I've had on the podcast. Don't get me wrong, man. I mean, I've had a lot of good people on here.
he
It
likes
seemed
you
like
because you're
you
more
brought something to the
scientific than I
table
am.
that you brought something different to the table.
Yeah. Well,
And
and that's
I'm
what I'm trying. I'm
really
trying to change I'm trying to get the paranormal out of its stagnated, thing. Now, I
that's
divide it
yeah,
into two parts. There's the entertainment part, and if you want to
yeah.
do jump scares and do cool things and make
Yeah,
shows and make money, go ahead and do it. I have no problem with that.
but
If I
it's not
watch a ghost
but
show, they're sometimes entertaining just to see the crap they do.
but
But
Yeah.
that's
if
not
you're looking for
if
entities
you're
and
really in
spirits,
it for it though,
yeah, like
you're
me,
really wanting to try to find
I don't
evidence.
have a YouTube channel. I mean, I
Right.
do, but it's got science junk with nothing to do with
I
ghosts.
have I have a YouTube channel for the
You can be
podcast where
on
I got
this
one
with
from
us
after fire.
anytime. You can be
I'll
on
be
this
on. I'll come on
you can
again
be
for sure.
yeah, you can be on this with us
Because we can
anytime.
still talk about more subjects,
Oh, I
more
got so
we can,
many. Yeah, I
dude,
just
we
touched the
can
Like
keep
surface.
going.
honestly, I feel like this podcast could have went on for
Oh
hours.
yeah, it
Oh,
could.
there's no
But
doubt
we,
in my mind.
But because I have to get up
yeah, and I need to
early
get.
and it
Yeah.
has been a long day. I've been at Terre Haute the last 3 days.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I
I
wasn't going to
had
be in Terre Haute for 5 minutes.
3 days this week in Terre Haute for classes
Yeah.
from 8 o'clock in the morning until
Well,
5 o'clock in the afternoon.
I'm glad I
And then
graduated years
I've
ago.
also had the last 2 days
Yeah.
working 12-hour shifts at the hospital. So
Yeah, I
the fact
understand.
that I was able to get on with you guys tonight, and I told Bud, I was like, honestly, I was so tired, but I was looking so forward to
Oh,
getting
thank you.
on with you and
Yeah,
Shane.
man,
Well,
Like,
it's been
hopefully I
awesome.
made it worth your time.
well,
No,
and
dude,
I mean,
this was
and
a great podcast.
not only that, but I mean, I miss talking shit to Bud.
Yeah.
So
Well, and Bud is cool.
Bud's the best. He
Yeah,
is.
he is cool.
That's why,
And we're gonna
we're
talk machine shop stuff too sometime.
Yeah,
We'll have our own podcast separate.
yeah,
Oh,
but yeah,
really?
we're talking about nothing but machining.
Yeah, we're machine. Well, I'm an amateur machinist. He's a professional one.
I'm gonna take
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that you guys are canceling me out.
Whatever.
You were taking
Whatever.
a dump.
Don't even.
You had to go poop.
We
That's
need
cool.
somebody to look good on the
It's
show.
cool. What? Oh, that's what it is. So it's like Tim the Toolman Taylor bullshit. Okay.
No way.
Hey,
No
they
way.
still have.
Okay. All right.
We
So
Hey,
I'm gonna
they
love
be
you,
still
like
Bud.
have Pamela
I'm
Anderson
gonna
on the
be like
show.
Pamela Anderson with the tits in the background, like, hi, I know what I'm talking about.
No, you're great.
And on
We
with
love
the
you.
show.
All right, you guys. We'll catch you
I-
guys later. I'm gonna break out of here too.
All right, man.
Good
All right,
show.
go back on
See you
anytime, man.
guys. I'll be on
All right.
again.
See you, man.
Yep. All right. Catch you guys later.
All
Bye.
right. Have a good one, buddy.
Yep.